Welcome back to Brainwaves. In today's episode, we're diving into the intriguing history of a day that has caused fear and superstition for centuries, Friday the 13th. Join us as we explore the origins, events, and cultural beliefs that have contributed to the significance of this particular day. To understand the history of Friday the 13th, we need to peel back the layers and examine various historical events and cultural superstitions that have shaped the way we perceive this day. Let's embark on this fascinating journey together. Welcome back to Brainwaves and our exploration of the history of Friday the 13th superstitions. In this section, let's delve into the fascinating historical events that have contributed to the creation of these beliefs. Firstly, the association of Friday with bad luck can be traced back to Christianity. According to the Christian faith, Jesus Christ was crucified on a Friday, leading to Friday being regarded as an unlucky day. This belief laid the groundwork for the superstitions surrounding this particular day. Additionally, the number 13 has long been considered unlucky in various cultures. The origin of this belief can be found in ancient times, where the number 12 was often considered a complete and perfect number, with 12 months in a year, 12 zodiac signs, etc. As a result, the number 13, which exceeded 12, was seen as disruptive and consequently associated with bad luck. Moreover, the Last Supper, a significant event in Christianity, plays a role in the superstitions surrounding Friday the 13th. The belief goes that Judas Iscariot, who betrayed Jesus, was the 13th guest at the Last Supper. This association has contributed to the fear and superstition surrounding the number 13. Let's now take a moment to appreciate the historical events that have laid the groundwork for the superstitions surrounding Friday the 13th. Welcome back to our fascinating exploration of the history of Friday the 13th superstitions. In this segment, we will delve into the association of Friday with bad luck in Christianity, shedding light on how this belief has contributed to the superstitions surrounding this day. The roots of the association between Friday and ill fortune lie in Christian traditions and texts. According to Christian belief, Jesus Christ was crucified on a Friday. This event, considered one of the most significant and solemn in Christian history, gave Friday a certain level of solemnity, sorrow, and association with bad luck. The crucifixion on Friday led to the day becoming associated with sadness, gloom, and even fear. In Christianity, Friday was seen as a day of penance and fasting, further adding to its negative connotations. Over time, this association with bad luck became intertwined with the superstitions related to Friday the 13th. As we explore the rich history of Friday the 13th, it is crucial to understand the role that Christianity played in associating this particular day of the week with unfortunate events and misfortune. Welcome back to our exploration of the history of Friday the 13th superstitions. In this segment, we will delve into the significance of the number 13 in different cultures, shedding light on how this numeral came to be associated with misfortune and bad luck. The number 13 has a long and fascinating history, often viewed with suspicion and fear. In many ancient cultures, such as the Babylonians and Egyptians, the concept of numerology played a significant role. They believed that numbers had certain energies and vibrations, and the number 13 was seen as disruptive and imperfect because it exceeded the number 12, which was associated with completeness and harmony. This negative perception carried over into various mythologies and belief systems. For example, in Norse mythology, the mischievous god Loki, who caused turmoil and disharmony, was the 13th member to arrive at a banquet of the gods, which ultimately resulted in chaos and tragedy. In many cultures, the fear of the number 13 even has a specific term, Triskaphobia. It is the result of centuries of superstitions, folklore, and cultural beliefs surrounding this number. As we dive deeper into the history of Friday the 13th, it is important to recognize the lasting impact of the number 13 and its association with misfortune across different civilizations and traditions. Welcome back to our exploration of the history of Friday the 13th superstitions. In this segment, we will discuss the Last Supper and the belief of Judas Iscariot being the 13th guest, which has deepened the superstitions surrounding this infamous date. According to the New Testament, the Last Supper was the final meal Jesus Christ shared with his disciples before his crucifixion. The event holds great significance in Christianity, setting the stage for the events that unfolded on Good Friday. During this Last Supper, Jesus shared bread and wine with his disciples, initiating what is now known as the Christian sacrament of Holy Communion. It is believed that there were 13 individuals present at the Last Supper: Jesus Christ and his 12 disciples. Among them was Judas Iscariot, who eventually betrayed Jesus to the authorities. As a result, the number 13 became linked to treachery, betrayal, and deceit. This association has been passed down through generations and has contributed to the superstitions surrounding Friday the 13th. The Last Supper and the belief of Judas Iscariot being the 13th guest have added another layer of fear and apprehension to the cultural beliefs surrounding this date. Let's now explore how these superstitions have evolved over time. Welcome back to our captivating exploration of the history of Friday the 13th superstitions. In this section, we will delve into the cultural beliefs surrounding this infamous date, examining how these superstitions have evolved and spread across different societies. Throughout history, various cultures have developed their own unique beliefs and superstitions related to Friday the 13th. These cultural beliefs often stem from folklore, myths, and local traditions that have been passed down through generations. As a result, we find intriguing variations in how Friday the 13th is perceived around the world. In some cultures, Friday is seen as an inherently unlucky day, independent of its connection to the number 13. This belief has different roots, such as Norse mythology associating Friday with bad luck due to the mischievous exploits of the goddess Freya, after whom the day is named. The spread of superstitions surrounding Friday the 13th gained momentum with the rise of popular literature and media. Books, movies, and other forms of entertainment have perpetuated the notion of this date as a harbinger of misfortune. Notable examples include Thomas W. Lawson's novel, Friday the 13th, and the iconic horror film series, Friday the 13th. In modern society, the superstitions around Friday the 13th have become deeply ingrained, leading to various cultural practices and rituals aimed at avoiding potential bad luck. Some individuals even suffer from Triskaphobia, the fear of Friday the 13th. As we continue our journey through the history of Friday the 13th, we start to grasp the broad range of cultural beliefs and influences that contribute to our collective fascination with this date. Welcome back to our exploration of the history of Friday the 13th superstitions. In this segment, we will uncover the evolution of superstitions surrounding this peculiar date in different cultures, shedding light on how these beliefs have transformed over time. The superstitions linked to Friday the 13th have evolved and adapted as they spread across cultures and geographical regions. In some societies, the fear revolves around the number 13 itself, while in others, it is primarily associated with Friday as an unlucky day. These beliefs vary greatly depending on cultural backgrounds and historical influences. For instance, in Western cultures, the number 13 is often labeled as unlucky, leading to the avoidance of the 13th floor in buildings, the omission of the number 13 in seating arrangements, and even the omission of the 13th row on airplanes. Meanwhile, in Eastern cultures like China, the number 4 is considered unlucky due to its phonetic similarity to the word death, and Friday the 13th does not hold the same level of superstition. The evolution of these superstitions is also influenced by significant historical events and the media's portrayal of Friday the 13th. For example, during the 19th century, a stock market crash occurred on Friday, September 13, 1873, leading to a reinforced negative perception of the date in Western societies. Additionally, the horror film franchise, Friday the 13th, contributed to the popularization of this date as a symbol of fear and terror. As we explore the evolution of superstitions surrounding Friday the 13th, we discover the fascinating ways in which cultural beliefs and historical events shape our understanding and perception of this infamous day. Welcome back to our exploration of the history of Friday the 13th superstitions. In this segment, we will uncover how superstitions surrounding this infamous date have spread through folklore, books, and movies, shaping our perception and reinforcing cultural beliefs. Folklore and oral traditions have played a significant role in perpetuating superstitions surrounding Friday the 13th. These tales often center around ill-fated events that occurred on this date, emphasizing its supposed connection to bad luck and misfortune. Whether it's stories of cursed individuals or cautionary tales of tragic incidents, folklore has served as a means to pass down the fear and apprehension associated with this specific day. The spread of superstitions surrounding Friday the 13th gained further momentum with the emergence of printed media. Books, magazines, and newspapers have featured stories, articles, and accounts that contribute to the mystique and superstitions surrounding this date. Authors capitalized on the public's fascination with superstitions, further embedding them into popular culture. Perhaps one of the most influential mediums in shaping the perception of Friday the 13th is the silver screen. Horror movies, such as the iconic Friday the 13th franchise, have depicted this date as a time of suspense, terror, and unfortunate events. These cinematic portrayals have fueled the public's imagination and reinforced the superstitions already present in society. Through folklore, books, and movies, the superstitions surrounding Friday the 13th have been spread and perpetuated, becoming ingrained in our collective consciousness. As we reflect on the influence of these mediums, we gain a deeper understanding of how cultural beliefs and popular culture intertwine to shape our perception of this notorious date. Welcome back to our exploration of the history of Friday the 13th superstitions. In this segment, we will examine the impact of these superstitions on modern society and popular culture, highlighting how they continue to influence our beliefs and behaviors. Superstitions surrounding Friday the 13th have become deeply ingrained in modern society, often leading to significant cultural practices and rituals aimed at warding off potential bad luck. Some individuals, affected by Triskaphobia, actively avoid normal activities on this day, such as traveling, making important decisions, or even getting married. Businesses and industries have also adapted to these beliefs, with some hotels and high-rise buildings skipping the 13th floor or airlines omitting the 13th row on their planes. In popular culture, Friday the 13th has become a prominent theme, capturing the collective imagination. The date has been heavily utilized in literature, music, art, and even merchandise. Countless movies, books, and songs revolve around the fear and horror associated with this particular day, perpetuating the superstitions and further amplifying their influence. Moreover, the digital age has enabled the superstitions surrounding Friday the 13th to spread at an unprecedented rate. Social media platforms, websites, and online forums provide spaces for individuals to discuss their fears, share stories, and seek validation. Memes and viral content related to Friday the 13th further strengthen its presence in popular culture and the collective consciousness. As we navigate modern society, the impact of Friday the 13th superstitions is evident, shaping our behaviors, influencing industries, and leaving an undeniable mark on popular culture. Welcome back to our exploration of the history of Friday the 13th superstitions. In this section, we will delve into notable events that have contributed to the formation and reinforcement of the superstitions surrounding this infamous date. One of the earliest historical events associated with Friday the 13th is the arrest and execution of the Knights Templar on Friday, October 13, 1307. The Knights Templar, a medieval Christian military order, were accused of various crimes, leading to their downfall. This event has been linked to the superstitions surrounding Friday the 13th and the belief that it is a day of calamity. Another significant event occurred on Friday, January 13, 1939, when Victoria, Australia was devastated by the Black Friday bushfires, resulting in the loss of many lives and substantial property damage. This tragic event further ingrained the notion of Friday the 13th as a day of catastrophe. In more recent history, there have been notable occurrences on Friday the 13th that have heightened its mystique and reinforced the superstition. For example, in 1970, a superstitious Boeing 737 crashed in the Andes Mountains on Friday, October 13th, giving rise to rumors of the date's curse. These notable events, along with others, have contributed to the formation and perpetuation of the superstitions surrounding Friday the 13th. They have become part of the collective memory, reminding us of the lasting impact of historical incidents on our cultural beliefs. Welcome back to our exploration of the history of Friday the 13th superstitions. In this section, we will uncover historical incidents that intensified the fear of Friday the 13th, further cementing its reputation as a day of misfortune and dread. One significant historical incident that intensified the fear of Friday the 13th is the arrest and execution of the Knights Templar on Friday, October 13, 1307. The Knights Templar, a prominent and wealthy medieval Christian military order, were accused of heresy, blasphemy, and other crimes by King Philip IV of France. Their sudden downfall and the subsequent persecution of the Knights Templar might have contributed to the perception that Friday the 13th is an unlucky day. Another notable event that added to the fear of Friday the 13th is the Black Friday bushfires that ravaged Victoria, Australia on Friday, January 13, 1939. These devastating wildfires resulted in significant loss of life and property. The tragic coincidence of the date and the disastrous event likely further solidified the superstitions surrounding Friday the 13th. Furthermore, various incidents and accidents occurring on Friday the 13th throughout history have contributed to its reputation as a day of bad luck. For example, the ill-fated crash of the Costa Concordia, a cruise ship that ran aground off the coast of Italy, happened on Friday, January 13, 2012. Such incidents, combined with pre-existing superstitions, have amplified the fear and anxiety associated with this particular date. These historical incidents, along with others, have intensified the fear and superstitions surrounding Friday the 13th. They serve as vivid reminders of the perceived dangers and reinforce the belief that this date is synonymous with misfortune. Welcome back to our exploration of the history of Friday the 13th superstitions. In this segment, we will discuss unfortunate events that have occurred on Friday the 13th, contributing to the superstitions and reinforcing the belief in its ominous nature. Throughout history, there have been numerous unfortunate incidents that coincided with this supposedly ill-fated date. While it is important to approach these events with caution and avoid sensationalism, it is worth acknowledging their impact on the superstitions surrounding Friday the 13th. One notable incident took place on Friday, October 13, 1972, when a plane carrying the Uruguayan rugby team crashed in the Andes Mountains. This harrowing event, later known as the Andes flight disaster, resulted in the loss of many lives. The extraordinary story of survival and sacrifice that unfolded during this tragedy further heightened the mystique surrounding Friday the 13th. In more recent years, there have been significant events occurring on Friday the 13th that have caught public attention. For example, on Friday, November 13, 2015, a series of coordinated terrorist attacks took place in Paris, causing widespread devastation and loss of innocent lives. This unfortunate incident, while not directly linked to the date itself, added to the perception of Friday the 13th as an ominous day. It is essential to note that while these events are associated with Friday the 13th, their occurrence on this date is merely coincidental. However, the human tendency to find patterns and meaning in random events has contributed to the superstitions and reinforced the notion of this day as one to be wary of. As we reflect on these unfortunate events, it is crucial to approach them with empathy and respect for the lives affected. While they play a role in the collective belief surrounding Friday the 13th, it is important to separate fact from superstition and not let fear dictate our actions. Welcome back to our exploration of the history of Friday the 13th superstitions. In this segment, we will examine the perception and reaction of individuals to this infamous date, shedding light on how it affects different people and why the superstitions surrounding it persist. The perception of Friday the 13th varies among individuals, ranging from casual dismissal to genuine fear and anxiety. Some view it as a day like any other, while others harbor deep-seated apprehension rooted in cultural beliefs, personal experiences, or a combination of both. For those who hold superstitions surrounding Friday the 13th, their reactions can range from mild caution to extreme avoidance. Some individuals may choose to alter their daily routines, avoiding travel or important decisions on this date. Others may experience heightened anxiety and take extra precautions to ward off perceived bad luck, such as carrying good luck charms, performing rituals, or seeking spiritual protection. The fear of Friday the 13th even has a name: Triskaphobia. Individuals affected by this phobia may experience significant distress leading up to and on Friday the 13th, with symptoms ranging from mild unease to debilitating anxiety. The enduring nature of the superstitions surrounding Friday the 13th can be attributed to various factors. Cultural beliefs, reinforced by historical events, folklore, and media portrayals, play a significant role in shaping how individuals perceive this date. Additionally, the psychological concept of confirmation bias, where individuals selectively interpret and recall information that confirms their existing beliefs, can contribute to the persistence of the superstitions. While the superstitions surrounding Friday the 13th of May not have a basis in scientific fact, understanding the perception and reactions of individuals is essential for comprehending the impact and influence of cultural beliefs on our collective psyche. Welcome back to our exploration of the history of Friday the 13th superstitions. In this section, we will delve into the origin of the fear associated with this date, which is believed to stem from the combination of two unlucky elements: Friday being regarded as an unlucky day and the number 13 being considered unlucky. Welcome back to our exploration of the history of Friday the 13th superstitions. In this section, we will dive into the mythology and cultural beliefs surrounding Friday, shedding light on why it is considered an unlucky day in many traditions. The association of Friday with bad luck can be traced back to ancient mythologies and religious beliefs. In Norse mythology, Friday is named after the goddess Freya, who is associated with love, beauty, and fertility. However, she is also linked to war and death. Some ancient Norse texts portray Friday as a day of chaos and ill fortune. Across various cultures, Friday has been seen as a day to be cautious. In Christian traditions, Friday is believed to be the day of the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. This event, considered the most tragic in Christian history, has led to the perception of Friday as an inherently unlucky day. Interestingly, Friday's reputation as an unlucky day is also connected to ancient numerology. In many ancient languages, including Old English and Norse, the word for Friday is derived from the word Frigg, who was a goddess associated with foreknowledge and wisdom. However, due to linguistic connections, the name Frigg was phonetically similar to the word fract, meaning to break or to separate in some ancient languages. This association with breaking or disruption gave rise to the belief that Friday brings bad luck or unfortunate events. These mythological and cultural beliefs have contributed to the long-standing perception of Friday as an unlucky day. Combining this belief with the superstitions surrounding the number 13 has given rise to the fear and caution surrounding Friday the 13th. Welcome back to our exploration of the history of Friday the 13th superstitions. In this section, we will delve into the historical significance of the number 13 as an unlucky number, which contributes to the fear surrounding Friday the 13th. Welcome back to our exploration of the history of Friday the 13th superstitions. In this section, we will discuss the combination of two unlucky elements: Friday being regarded as an unlucky day and the number 13 being considered unlucky. Welcome back to our exploration of the history of Friday the 13th superstitions. In this section, we will explain how the belief in Friday as an unlucky day and the superstition surrounding the number 13 have contributed to the fear associated with Friday the 13th. Welcome back to our exploration of the history of Friday the 13th superstitions. In this section, we will explore cultural and historical examples that support the combination theory, which suggests that the fear of Friday the 13th originated from the combination of Friday being regarded as an unlucky day and the number 13 being considered unlucky. Cultural examples from around the world reinforce the belief in the combination of Friday and the number 13 as unlucky. In Western cultures, including the United States and many European countries, Friday the 13th is often associated with bad luck and superstitions. This cultural belief has influenced various aspects of society, such as avoiding important events or decisions on this date. Historically, there have been significant events that align with the combination theory. One notable example is the arrest and subsequent persecution of the Knights Templar on Friday, October 13, 1307. This event, occurring on a day associated with bad luck and involving the number 13, has been cited as a possible influence on the superstition surrounding Friday the 13th. Literature and popular culture have also contributed to the perpetuation of the combination theory. Numerous books, movies, and television shows have depicted Friday the 13th as a day filled with danger and misfortune. These cultural references have further ingrained the belief in the unlucky combination, reinforcing the fear associated with this date. Furthermore, personal experiences and anecdotes play a role in supporting the combination theory. Many individuals claim to have experienced unfortunate events or accidents on Friday the 13th, further cementing the belief in its ominous nature. While the combination theory lacks concrete evidence, the cultural and historical examples mentioned provide intriguing support for the origins of the fear surrounding Friday the 13th. Welcome back to our exploration of the history of Friday the 13th superstitions. In this section, we will discuss the perpetuation and reinforcement of the fear associated with Friday the 13th, which originated from the combination of Friday being regarded as an unlucky day and the number 13 being considered unlucky. Folklore, literature, and media have played significant roles in perpetuating the fear surrounding Friday the 13th. Stories and legends passed down through generations have often portrayed this date as a time of impending doom and supernatural occurrences. Such narratives contribute to the creation of an aura of fear and anticipation around Friday the 13th. One of the most notable examples of perpetuating this fear is the well-known horror film franchise, Friday the 13th. The series, featuring a masked serial killer named Jason Voorhees, has become synonymous with the date. The popularity of these movies has further entrenched the superstitions surrounding Friday the 13th in popular culture. Literature has also played a significant role in reinforcing the fear of this date. Many authors have incorporated Friday the 13th into their suspenseful and thrilling narratives, capitalizing on the existing superstitions to create a sense of unease and tension for their readers. These literary works contribute to the perpetuation and normalization of the fear associated with this particular day. Media, including news outlets and online publications, often seize the opportunity to cover unusual or negative events happening on Friday the 13th, further amplifying the public's perception of it as an unlucky day. Sensationalized stories and headlines contribute to the ongoing reinforcement of the fear and superstitions surrounding this date. Psychological factors also contribute to the perpetuation of the fear. The power of suggestion and confirmation bias play significant roles in reinforcing beliefs about Friday the 13th being a day of bad luck. When people already hold negative beliefs about this date, they may interpret events on that day as confirmation of their pre-existing views. In conclusion, the fear of Friday the 13th, born from the combination of Friday being regarded as an unlucky day and the number 13 being considered unlucky, has been perpetuated and reinforced through folklore, literature, media, and psychological biases. These factors have collectively contributed to the sustained belief in the superstitions surrounding this infamous date. Welcome back to our exploration of the history of Friday the 13th superstitions. In this section, we will discuss the role of folklore, literature, and media in perpetuating the fear associated with Friday the 13th, which originated from the combination of Friday being regarded as an unlucky day and the number 13 being considered unlucky. Folklore has long served as a means of passing down beliefs and traditions from generation to generation. In the case of Friday the 13th, folklore has played a significant role in perpetuating the fear surrounding this date. Stories and urban legends featuring supernatural occurrences, accidents, or misfortunes happening specifically on Friday the 13th have been shared and retold, contributing to the belief in its ominous nature. Literature has also been instrumental in perpetuating the fear of Friday the 13th. Many authors, both in the past and present, have utilized this date as a catalyst for suspenseful and thrilling narratives. By incorporating Friday the 13th into their storytelling, authors tap into the existing superstitions and fears surrounding this day, engrossing readers in tales of fear and terror. These literary works, spanning genres such as horror, mystery, and suspense, not only entertain but also reinforce the association of Friday the 13th with bad luck. Media, including movies, television shows, and news outlets, also contribute to the perpetuation of the fear. The infamous horror film franchise, Friday the 13th, introduced audiences to the iconic character Jason Voorhees, whose murderous rampage on this date has become deeply ingrained in popular culture. News outlets often seize the opportunity to report on unusual or negative events that occur on Friday the 13th, further solidifying the idea of it being an unlucky day. Furthermore, the rise of social media has provided a platform for the proliferation of Friday the 13th superstitions. Memes, tweets, and posts discussing the inherent unluckiness of this day are shared and amplified, contributing to the continued reinforcement of the fear surrounding Friday the 13th. In conclusion, folklore, literature, and media all play important roles in perpetuating the fear associated with Friday the 13th. Through stories, books, movies, and online content, the belief in the unluckiness of this date is passed on and continually reinforced in our collective consciousness. Welcome back to our exploration of the history of Friday the 13th superstitions. In this section, we will delve into the psychological factors that influence the belief in the combination theory, suggesting that the fear of Friday the 13th originates from the combination of Friday being regarded as an unlucky day and the number 13 being considered unlucky. One psychological factor that influences belief is the power of suggestion. When individuals are repeatedly exposed to the idea that Friday the 13th is an unlucky day, it can create a cognitive bias known as confirmation bias. Confirmation bias is the tendency to interpret information in a way that supports one's pre-existing beliefs. In the case of Friday the 13th, people who already believe in its unluckiness are more likely to assign negative events or accidents happening on this day as evidence of their belief, reinforcing their conviction. The availability heuristic is another psychological factor that can contribute to the belief in the combination theory. This heuristic is a mental shortcut where individuals rely on readily available examples or information when making judgments or decisions. When people hear stories or read about negative events happening on Friday the 13th, those instances become more salient and readily recalled in their minds. This availability of information leads to overestimating the likelihood of such events occurring on this particular day, further reinforcing the belief in the combination of unluckiness. Cultural and societal influence also play a role in shaping beliefs. People are social creatures and tend to adopt the beliefs and norms of the society they live in. If a culture strongly associates Friday the 13th with bad luck, individuals within that culture are more likely to adopt the same belief due to social pressure and conformity. Lastly, the fear of the unknown and uncertainty contributes to the belief in the combination theory. Both Friday being regarded as unlucky and the number 13 being considered unlucky are uncertain elements. Uncertainty creates anxiety and a need for control. By attributing negative events or mishaps to the combination of Friday and the number 13, individuals find a sense of explanation and control over the unknown, providing a psychological comfort in their belief. As we can see, psychological factors such as confirmation bias, the availability heuristic, cultural influence, and the need for control all contribute to the perpetuation of the belief in the combination theory surrounding Friday the 13th. Welcome back to our exploration of the history of Friday the 13th superstitions. In this section, we will delve into the belief held in Christianity that associates Friday with bad luck due to the crucifixion of Jesus Christ on this day. The crucifixion of Jesus is a pivotal event in Christian theology. According to the New Testament of the Bible, Jesus was arrested, tried, and ultimately crucified on a Friday, commonly referred to as Good Friday. This event, which took place on the eve of Passover, has been deeply ingrained in Christian belief and tradition. For many Christians, Friday holds significant religious and emotional weight as the day when Jesus Christ, the central figure of their faith, was put to death. The crucifixion is seen as a sacrificial act of love and redemption, marking the culmination of Jesus' earthly journey. The association of Friday with this momentous event can create a sense of reverence, solemnity, and even sorrow. Over time, this religious belief surrounding the crucifixion on a Friday has permeated the cultural consciousness, contributing to the perception of Friday as an unlucky day. The connection between Jesus' crucifixion and Friday has led to the belief in Friday as a day of suffering, sorrow, and ill fortune. It is important to note that not all Christians view Friday as inherently unlucky or negative. Different denominations and individuals within Christianity interpret and practice their faith in diverse ways, However, the association between Friday and the crucifixion remains a significant aspect of Christian belief and contributes to the broader cultural understanding of Friday as an unlucky day. Welcome back to our exploration of the history of Friday the 13th superstitions. In this section, we will delve into the belief that Friday, independent of its association with the crucifixion of Jesus, has been regarded as an unlucky day in various cultures and belief systems. The belief in Friday as an unlucky day predates Christianity and can be traced back to ancient civilizations. In Roman mythology, Friday was associated with the goddess Venus, who represented love, beauty, and fertility. However, the association of Friday with Venus took a negative turn as the Roman Empire adopted Christianity. The day became intertwined with the fear of paganism and was to be avoided by devout Christians. In addition to its association with Venus, Friday gained a negative reputation due to its connection to certain historical events. For example, in Norse mythology, Friday was believed to be an inauspicious day associated with the goddess Frigg or Freya, who presided over love, beauty, and fertility. As Christianity spread, these existing pagan associations with Friday contributed to its labeling as a day of bad luck and ill omens. The negative perception of Friday was further strengthened by various historical events that occurred on this day. One notable event is the crucifixion of Jesus, as previously discussed. Another significant event that added to the superstition surrounding Friday was the execution of criminals in ancient Rome, which often took place on Fridays. Furthermore, there is an Old English nursery rhyme that further reinforces the belief in Friday as an unlucky day. The rhyme states, "Friday's child is loving and giving," but ends with, "But the child that is born on the Sabbath day is bonny and blithe and good and gay," implying that Friday-born children are less fortunate. The idea of Friday as an unlucky day has persisted in different cultures and has been perpetuated through various folklore, literature, and media references. More recently, the connection between Friday and ill fortune has been embedded in popular culture, including films, books, and even songs. These cultural references continuously reinforce the perception of Friday as an unlucky day in the collective conscious of societies around the world. Welcome back to our exploration of the history of Friday the 13th superstitions. In this section, we will examine the association between Friday and the number 13, giving rise to the specific superstitions surrounding Friday the 13th. The combination of Friday and the number 13 as unlucky elements is believed to have originated from different cultural and historical factors. As we discussed earlier, both Friday and the number 13 have their own associations with bad luck and unfortunate events. When these two are combined, the superstition intensifies. In Christianity, the belief in the unluckiness of Friday combined with the belief in the number 13 being unlucky gave rise to the specific apprehension surrounding Friday the 13th. It is important to note that this superstition gained prominence during the Middle Ages, particularly after the events such as the Crusades and the persecution of the Knights Templar. The trepidation associated with the number 13 is known as Triskaphobia. This fear of the number 13 has ancient roots and can be traced back to Norse mythology, where the god Loki was believed to be the 13th guest at a banquet, leading to the death of Balder, the god of light and joy. Throughout history, various historical events have further contributed to the superstitions surrounding Friday the 13th. For instance, one significant event was the capture and subsequent execution of the Knights Templar, a powerful and influential medieval Christian military order, on Friday the 13th of October 1307. This historical event, which led to the suppression of the order, has been cited as one possible origin of the belief in the unluckiness of Friday the 13th. In more recent times, the association between Friday the 13th and bad luck has been perpetuated through popular culture, including films, books, and other forms of media. The Friday the 13th horror film franchise, initiated in the 1980s, popularized the notion of this date as a time of fear, horror, and unfortunate events. Overall, the association between Friday and the number 13 as unlucky elements has resulted in the specific superstition surrounding Friday the 13th. While the origins of this association may vary across cultures and historical events, the fear and caution surrounding this date continue to persist in our modern society. Welcome back to our exploration of the history of Friday the 13th superstitions. In this section, we will dive into the fascinating subject of Triskaphobia, the fear of the number 13. Triskaphobia has ancient roots and can be found in different cultures throughout history. Triskaphobia is derived from the Greek words tris, meaning 13, and kai, meaning and deca, meaning 10. This fear of the number 13 has been documented in various societies and has often been associated with bad luck, superstitions, and unfortunate occurrences. The origins of Triskaphobia are not entirely clear, but it is believed to have been present in different cultures and civilizations for centuries. The fear of certain numbers, known as numerophobia, has existed since ancient times, and the number 13, in particular, has attracted special attention and fear. One possible explanation for the fear of the number 13 can be traced back to religious and mythological beliefs. The Last Supper, a significant event in Christian theology, has been cited as a possible origin of Triskaphobia. According to the New Testament of the Bible, Jesus Christ and his 12 disciples gathered for their final meal together before his crucifixion. It is believed that Judas Iscariot, the disciple who betrayed Jesus, was the 13th guest at the Last Supper. This association between the number 13 and the betrayal of Jesus may have contributed to the fear and superstition surrounding this number. Triskaphobia is not exclusive to Christianity. Similar beliefs and fears surrounding the number 13 can be found in other cultures as well. In ancient Norse mythology, for example, the mischievous god Loki was considered the 13th guest at a banquet in Valhalla, leading to the death of Balder, the god of light and joy. This association of the number 13 with betrayal and unfortunate events can be seen in different cultural contexts and contributes to Triskaphobia. Welcome back to our exploration of the history of Friday the 13th superstitions. In this section, we will delve into the ancient roots of Triskaphobia, the fear of the number 13, and its presence in different cultures throughout history. The fear of certain numbers, including 13, has existed since ancient times. In many ancient civilizations, numbers held symbolic and mystical significance, and some numbers were perceived as being more powerful, lucky, or unlucky than others. The number 13, in particular, has often been associated with negative connotations and regarded as an unlucky number. In ancient Sumerian culture, which dates back to 4500 BCE, there are records of the fear and avoidance of the number 13. The ancient Egyptians also held beliefs regarding the number 13, associating it with transitions and the afterlife. In Norse mythology, there is a tale in which 12 gods were dining together when the mischievous god Loki arrived uninvited, making him the 13th guest, which ultimately led to great strife and tragedy. The presence of the number 13 as an unlucky or negative symbol can also be seen in various other ancient cultures. In ancient Rome, it was believed that if 13 people gathered at a table to dine, one of them would die within the year. And in ancient Chinese culture, the number 13 was avoided and considered to be inauspicious due to its similar pronunciation to the word meaning to have a lifetime of suffering. These ancient beliefs and cultural associations surrounding the number 13 have contributed to the development of Triskaphobia, the fear of the number 13, across different regions and civilizations throughout history. The superstitions and negative connotations attached to the number 13 have persisted over time, fueling the phobia and its prevalence in various cultures. Welcome back to our exploration of the history of Friday the 13th superstitions. In this section, we will explore a commonly suggested origin of Triskaphobia, the fear of the number 13, the Last Supper. According to the New Testament of the Bible, the Last Supper was a significant event in Christian theology where Jesus Christ shared a final meal with his 12 disciples before his crucifixion. During this event, Jesus revealed that one of his disciples would betray him. It is believed that Judas Iscariot, the infamous betrayer of Jesus, was the 13th guest at the Last Supper. This association of the number 13 with the betrayal of Jesus has been proposed as a possible origin of Triskaphobia. The number 13's connection to the Last Supper gained prominence during the Middle Ages, especially after the French King Philip IV arrested and accused the Knights Templar, a powerful and influential medieval Christian military order, on Friday the 13th of October 1307. The arrest of the Knights Templar, who were respected and trusted by many, further fueled suspicions and fears surrounding the number 13. However, it's important to note that the direct connection between the Last Supper and Triskaphobia is a matter of belief and interpretation. The Last Supper itself is a significant religious event commemorated in Christianity, and while the presence of 13 individuals at the table, including Judas Iscariot as the betrayer, is often noted, the fear and superstition surrounding the number 13 predates this specific interpretation. Nevertheless, the Last Supper has left an indelible mark in Christian history and has become intertwined in the cultural consciousness regarding the fear of the number 13. The association between the Last Supper, the presence of Judas as the 13th guest, and the subsequent events that unfolded contributed to the perpetuation of Triskaphobia throughout history. Welcome back to our exploration of the history of Friday the 13th superstitions. In this section, we will discuss the combination of Friday and the number 13, which gained widespread attention and superstition in the early 20th century. The convergence of Friday and the number 13 as an ominous combination can be attributed to various factors. Both Friday and the number 13 individually had their own negative associations and superstitions surrounding them. When these two elements are combined, they intensify the superstitions and fears attached to the date. Friday has been regarded as an unlucky day in multiple cultures and belief systems for centuries. We have already discussed the Christian belief that Jesus Christ was crucified on a Friday, which contributed to the notion of the day being associated with bad luck. Additionally, in many ancient mythologies and cultures, Friday was considered an inauspicious day due to connections with deities associated with misfortune. The number 13 has its own history of trepidation and superstition, as discussed earlier. Triskaphobia, the fear of the number 13, has ancient roots and can be found in different cultures. From religious beliefs to ancient mythologies, the number 13 has often been associated with negative events and considered unlucky. When Friday and the number 13 combine, the superstitions surrounding each element converge and amplify in the collective consciousness. This combination gained remarkable attention in the early 20th century, capturing the public's imagination and contributing to a widespread belief in Friday the 13th as an unlucky day. Welcome back to our exploration of the history of Friday the 13th superstitions. In this section, we will delve into the widespread attention and superstition that developed around the combination of Friday and the number 13 in the early 20th century. During this time, Friday the 13th started gaining significant notoriety as an unlucky day. The reasons for this rise in superstition are multifaceted and can be attributed to various cultural and literary influences. One primary contributing factor was the increasing power and influence of mass media, which disseminated the belief in the unluckiness of this date to a wider audience. Books and newspapers played a crucial role in spreading the superstitions associated with Friday the 13th. Authors and journalists seized upon the intriguing combination of Friday and the number 13, portraying it as a day of misfortune and dreadful consequences. These writings captured the public's imagination, reinforcing the existing beliefs and attracting new followers to the superstition. Popular publications, such as newspapers and magazines, often featured stories and articles highlighting instances of accidents, disasters, or unusual events that occurred on Friday the 13th. These accounts, whether based on actual events or embellished for dramatic effect, fostered a sense of fear and apprehension surrounding the day. Furthermore, books and novels further perpetuated the superstitions associated with Friday the 13th. Writers capitalized on the public's fascination with the supernatural and the occult, weaving tales of horror and ill-fated occurrences taking place on this fateful day. With imaginative storytelling, these authors deepened the superstition and entrenched the belief that Friday the 13th was a time of impending doom. The impact of popular culture cannot be ignored when examining the widespread attention given to Friday the 13th. Movies, television shows, and other forms of media embraced the superstitions surrounding this date, further solidifying its reputation as an unlucky day. For example, the famous Friday the 13th horror film franchise, launched in 1980, cemented the association between this date and terrifying events in the public consciousness. In conclusion, the combination of Friday and the number 13 gained widespread attention and superstition in the early 20th century, thanks to the influence of books, newspapers, and media. The portrayal of this day as unlucky contributed to the enduring belief in the ominous nature of Friday the 13th. Welcome back to our exploration of the history of Friday the 13th superstitions. In this section, we will examine the significant role that books and movies have played in contributing to the reputation of Friday the 13th as an unlucky day. Books have long been a source of inspiration and fuel for superstitions around this date. Authors have skillfully used the combination of Friday and the number 13 to create narratives that evoke fear and intrigue. One notable example is Thomas W. Lawson's novel, Friday, the 13th, published in 1907. This book centered around a stockbroker who uses the superstition surrounding the date to manipulate the stock market, reinforcing the belief in its unluckiness. Other authors followed suit, exploring the concept of Friday the 13th as a day of catastrophe and misfortune. Their works further popularized the notion of this date being associated with bad luck. Whether through horror stories, thrillers, or cautionary tales, these books established Friday the 13th as a symbol of impending doom in the minds of readers. Movies have also played a significant role in shaping the reputation of Friday the 13th. The Friday the 13th film franchise, launched in 1980, became an iconic series of slasher movies that depicted violent and gory events happening on this date. With each subsequent sequel, the association between Friday the 13th and horror intensified, fueling the superstitions and fears surrounding the day. The success of the Friday the 13th films paved the way for other movies to explore the idea of this date as a harbinger of terror and misfortune. From psychological thrillers to supernatural horror films, the concept of Friday the 13th as an unlucky day became a recurring theme in the cinematic landscape. In addition to books and movies, various other forms of popular culture, such as television shows, music, and art, have contributed to the reputation of Friday the 13th as an unlucky day. These cultural mediums have perpetuated the superstitions and helped solidify the belief that this particular alignment of day and numeral carries an inherent sense of dread and negativity. And that brings us to the end of our exploration into the history of Friday the 13th. We've learned about the various theories surrounding its origins, from the combination of Friday and the number 13 being considered unlucky, to the historical and cultural events that have contributed to its superstitions. While the fear and dread associated with this day may still persist for many, it's important to remember that superstitions are often based on myths and legends rather than concrete evidence. Despite its dark reputation, Friday the 13th has also become a popular cultural theme, inspiring movies, books, and even an infamous horror film franchise. It's a day that continues to capture our imagination, sparking curiosity and fascination about the mysteries surrounding it. Thank you for joining us on this journey through history. We hope you enjoyed gaining insights into the intriguing origins and significance of Friday the 13th. Remember to stay curious and keep exploring the fascinating realm of human beliefs and superstitions.